Smoking weed and mortal sins. Should these two phrases even be used in one sentence? Apparently, the religiosity in people still causes pangs in their conscience, rather than concerns for their personal health. According to Google Trends, people really want to know if getting high by smoking ganja is a mortal sin. Probably because they've come to accept that smoking will kill them anyway. And the only thing left to worry about is where they will go after kicking the bucket. Not that bucket, this bucket. So, we thought at Basic Hale to explain mortal sins and how smoking a joint may or may not be a mortal sin. Firstly, what is a mortal sin? From the perspective of Christian theology, a sin is in the category of mortal sins if it meets two criteria. 1. It is done intentionally, meaning that the sinner decided to commit the act. Nobody, not even the devil, made them do it. And 2, the sinner knows that what they are doing is a sin. To clarify, mortal sins are also called deadly sins. According to the book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 17, they are sins that lead to death. The death that John referred to here does not mean to stop breathing or to give up the ghost. Rather, it means that the sinner gets cut off from the grace of God. This is one of several parts of Christian ideology for which it is difficult to produce any modicum of evidence. But I digress. Perception is king, and objective reality does not matter. As I was saying, being cut off from God's grace also means that if a person does not repent from their mortal sin before they die, they will go straight to hell. If I have successfully pricked your conscience, keep listening, and the next thing that you hear might relieve the deep guilt that you now feel. So, the next logical question is, what is a sin? A sin is anything that goes against God's laws. There are some sins that are clearly understood as sin, without any trace of ambiguity. Sins such as stealing, murder, adultery, and lying. If one is not mentally retarded in any way, one would know that those are sins. Everything else that may look or sound like sin, but are not expressly discussed in the Holy Book, is a potential loophole in the definition of sin. For example, the Christian Holy Book says we must obey the laws of the land or governing authorities. So, if you smoke a joint in Texas, you are committing a sin because it is illegal there. But you could drive across state lines to New Mexico and smoke your weed and be totally free of sin. Another dimension of loopholes related to this topic is that there is no specific reference to smoking as sin in the Bible. Do with that piece of information what you will. Now, to more objective thoughts about things based in reality. We have curated some negative effects of smoking pot based on systematic reviews and meta-analysis. This is the highest level of evidence in healthcare research. But before we tell you the negative health effects of smoking grass, we would also like to make the distinction that association is not the same as causation. To say that a disease is associated with smoking pot means that the probability of getting that disease is higher for those who smoke marijuana compared to those who do not. Causation, on the other hand, is a bit more difficult to prove because most diseases are caused by multiple factors. But do not take association lightly, as we will show in these curated negative effects of smoking ganja. Smoking cannabis is associated with an increased probability of suffering a heart attack by a factor of 5, meaning that a cannabis smoker is 5 times more likely to have a heart attack compared to a non-smoker. The time from smoking the first joint of cannabis to getting a heart attack is as short as 24 hours. In some cases, smoking pot increases the probability of experiencing erectile dysfunction by a factor of 2, meaning that a dude who regularly puffs on Mary Jane is twice more likely to disappoint his girlfriend in bed compared to a dude who does not smoke ganja. Smoking pot increases the chances of testicular cancer, also by a factor of 2. Smoking cannabis is associated with periodontitis, a type of tooth infection that may lead to teeth loss. The association here is relatively small, about 12%, meaning that if 100 people among all non-smokers of cannabis are affected by periodontitis, the number among all ganja smokers will be 112, so very small. Smoking pot is also associated with psychotic symptoms and may lead to severe mental illnesses. Related to this is that the use of cannabis doubles the tendency to physical violence among young people. To balance this discussion, we also searched for the health benefits of smoking ganja. And unfortunately, we found that there are no systematic reviews or meta-analysis on the topic. Conspiracy theorists among us might think that this is a systematic suppression of information by the powers that be to discourage people from smoking pot. But the reality is that there are many people working in healthcare research and smoke pot. They are interested in finding and reporting the benefits. We promise that if and when health science finds high-level evidence on the benefits of smoking ganja, we will make a video about it to let you know. Also, regarding the medical use of cannabis, the only disease for which cannabis has been proven to be effective is chronic pain. When you think of it, it makes sense because anything that can reduce or eliminate the awareness of reality would be effective at treating pain. To conclude, for those of you who are wondering if there is a safe way to get high without the negative effects that we mentioned earlier, the short answer is that we do not know. The main ways of consuming marijuana are smoking, vaping, and edible cannabis. There is no conclusive research evidence to show that one is safer than the others. Please subscribe to Basic Hale to help us bring you more valuable content like this one. Thank you for watching.